In this challenge activity, we're going to work with the things that we've learned in this module: pointers, dynamic memory allocation, vectors of pointers, inheritance, polymorphism, and put all these together in an activity that lets us work with multiple classes and how we can put those together. Now, notice because of that, we'll be working with lots of files so that each of these different classes will go together, right? They'll have this inheritance relationship and use polymorphism. We're going to be using payroll data again. Now, in a previous activity, remember that we wrote the payroll record class, and this is going to draw from some of those same details. So any code that you wrote for the payroll record class, you can copy paste it here. Some of it you'll need to adapt, some of it won't be useful, and some of it will be very useful. So you might want to refer back to that code that you wrote for the payroll record class, because you'll be able to use some of that for this work. This is how the structure of how these classes go together. So we're going to have a base class, the PayrollData class, and it's going to contain 3 protected data members that the other classes, that the subclasses will have access to, and 3 virtual methods that all of the subclasses will overwrite. And then the 3 classes that will inherit from payroll data will be hourly payroll, salary payroll, and commission payroll. Hourly payroll and commission payroll will add some private data members, and all 3 of them will write an implementation for those virtual methods, and commission payroll will add 1 additional method. So to start this activity, create the payroll data class. We're going to start with that. You'll add the protected data members, add the getter methods, and the setter methods. So you'll want to write both the declaration and the implementation for these. And then you'll add a default constructor and a non-default constructor that receives 2 parameters, a destructor that doesn't do anything, and virtual method declarations. So you want to get those declarations in. Remember, with virtual methods, the base class will not implement them, but just write those declarations. Now, once you're done with that, you can't try these out in main because we can't create an object of type payroll data because it's an abstract data type. So you'll just have to keep going until you get done with hourly payroll to check things out in main and how they work. So part 2 is to create the hourly payroll class. It's going to inherit from the payroll data class, and you're going to write that class declaration. And here lists all the details that need to be included in there, static data members and constructors and a destructor, 1 getter for additional data member, and 2 setters, and 3 other methods. So notice that these setters are overriding, one of them is overriding that base, the setter in the base class. And then 3 additional methods. So here's where you're going to actually write the declaration for those methods that you're going to inherit. And then write the hourly payroll class implementation. So now you go through and you'll implement all of those details, implement all of those methods, give the static data members values, and implement the getters and the setters, implement the constructors, and then implement those methods: compute gross, write data, and write report. Now you can actually check things out in main and see how things are looking and that they're working the way that you expect. So here's the instructions of what to do in main. And if you go to main, you'll see that there's comments for the things to do. So this first section is the hourly payroll section. And here you'll demonstrate how that hourly payroll works. And you're going to demonstrate all those methods that you just created in the hourly payroll class. Then you can also run the unit tests. Now currently, main test is set up to run the hourly payroll tests. So there's going to be multiple tests. And in fact, if you check out the test folder, there's several of the test.cpp files. But right now it's just set up to do the hourly payroll test. So you can run those unit tests to see how they work. And this is going to give you a chance to run those unit tests along the way instead of having to wait till the very end to run them. So that then, now you've got the base class, payroll data written, and this first class that inherits, the hourly payroll class that inherits from the payroll data class.